the afterlife.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to another episode of this video series where we discuss about the fundamental topic of Qiyamah. So far we have discussed what happens when a person's soul is removed from the body, what happens while the person is dying, and we have discussed barzakh. Now we move on to the next stage in the afterlife, which is the Day of Judgment. Now, firstly, before we discuss the Day of Judgment, this and the following video is going to be about the signs of the Day of Judgment. It's important to mention the signs because some of these signs are already in place, while others are going to follow suit. There is a narration that Abdullah ibn Abbas narrates from the Holy Prophet while he was completing the final pilgrimage in Mecca. The Holy Prophet stood by the door of the Kaaba holding the latch of the door in his hand and said to his companions, "Should I not tell you the signs of the Day of Resurrection?" Salman al-Farsi radiyallahu anhum was nearest of all there, and he replied, "Surely, O Messenger of Allah." Now the tradition itself is very lengthy. However, I will mention and point out certain signs that the Holy Prophet said that are already visibly in place. One of the signs that the Holy Prophet, in fact the first sign that the Holy Prophet mentioned, was that people will neglect the prayer. Now when he says neglect the prayer, he doesn't only mean that they will not pray. That also means that when they pray, they will delay their prayers, or that they will pray hastily, without fulfilling all of its conditions. The Holy Prophet also said that they will pick some rules and they will leave the other rules based on their own liking and convenience. We see this cherry picking of rules a lot in recent times, especially when it comes to things like business and marriage. To give you an example, when it comes to marriage, everyone remembers that men are allowed to get married twice or thrice. That's one rule they have picked up. The rule that they don't pick up is that you're supposed to treat them with equality. With this equality, that's when you are allowed to marry 3 or 4 wives. Now, another sign that the Holy Prophet mentions is the domination of women over men. Now, this can take the face of modern day feminism, in the sense that it may mean that the government of women takes place, or it may mean that women may have dominance over their husbands, so much so that their husbands will not and cannot ask them to remain within the limits of the Sharia. The Holy Prophet mentioned another sign, which was children will sit on the Minber or the pulpit. Now, this may mean, in its literal sense, that children will sit on the Minber. It may also mean that those who are undeserving of sitting on the Minber will sit on the Minber. Unfortunately, nowadays, anyone who can recite a few fadail off the top of his head, or even make certain fadail, as seen in recent times, he will be called a great Maulana and be called to give talks worldwide. Such people are not only sinning, they are also misleading the masses towards hellfire by giving fake information to the public. Now, in similar light, the Prophet says, at that time the woman will become a partner of her husband in trade. Now that means she will be at the business with him. That may mean as director, managing partner, saleswoman, accountant. It can be any of the positions in trade, in business, meaning. At that time, the markets will come nearer. Now this has already happened in the face of globalization. If you see how it works, a man sitting in New York, America, all the way in the West, can buy something from Beijing, China, which is one of the eastern places in the world. Therefore, the East and West have come closer in trade. Another sign is that Men will satisfy their lust with other men, and women with other women. This is abundantly seen today, especially in the West, where homosexuality is not only allowed, but promoted and encouraged in children as young as 5 and 6 years old. One of the last signs I would like to mention is that the Quran will be learned for worldly benefits and to be treated as a musical instrument. This is again seen commonly in today's world, where if a child learns the Quran, the next step for him is to learn how to beautify his voice. Not to say that there's anything wrong with beautifying his voice, but to beautify his voice in order to show off to others is when there's a problem in his intention. The last part of this hadith that I would like to mention is people will become kafir due to poverty and need. This has already happened, not in this decade, but 2 decades ago, in Bangladesh especially. Now, when the Bangladeshi people were facing disaster, soon after the surrender of the Pakistani forces, no Muslim country or organization came to their rescue. But who came to their rescue? Christian organizations. Therefore, more people converted to Christianity from being Muslim. So we can see that many parts of this hadith are already actually in play in today's world. I just pinpointed a few which are common so that our viewers around the world can also relate to these. I would also like to point out that atheism in the shape of communism is making way into our world and lives slowly but surely, especially in the poor nations of the world. May Allah lead us to the right path and help us stay away from all the sins, inshaAllah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.